Okay, so we're going to talk about a bug that I fixed today at work. As a mobile developer, you're in charge of providing the best experience you can to the customer. And occasionally you run into these small edge cases that can really trigger a negative review or, a decrease in use of the app. So in this bottom right corner of this input field, you'll see this 0 out of 450 characters. And you'll typically find this within any feedback form, any type of long form response that the app is expecting the customer to fill out. And as the user is typing, you'll see this dynamically change. It'll say 1 out of 450, all the way up to 449 or even 450 out of 450. What can happen though is if you have the opposite character experience. So let's say it has like a decrement, every time you type, it'll say you have X amount of characters remaining. And that was an issue that we spotted in our app, and I was tasked with fixing it. So I just wanted to show you all like what goes in behind the scenes in order to fix something like this. So yeah, let's move over to the code. Okay, so before we jump into the code base, I actually wanted to diagram the full workspace that I built for this example. So what we're going to have is a workspace. Let's see if I could label this. We'll call this workspace. This is typically where Xcode places all of the project files. And within the workspace, you can have a lot of different modules. Modules is just a fancy word of saying, this container has this functionality. Whether it's a certain feature or a library that makes developers' lives easier, all of this lives inside of this box here, which I've labeled workspace. In large scale development, you'll find that the modularity is more important than when you're building something by yourself, like a small app. And once again, modularity is just a loaded term that means we're going to make this easier for long-term use. So instead of having, one container that contains everything, you might have a ton of little containers, such that it makes everyone's development experience pretty simple and straightforward. What can happen if you don't practice modularity is you have like 100 to 1,000 developers working in one box, and as you can imagine, it's a recipe for chaos. You're setting yourself up to fail. So, and what I mean by failing is you might run into a lot of conflicts, developers stepping on each other's toes, people get angry. What do you call those? Deadlines get missed, and your customers suffer, companies suffer. So we want to make sure we have like a seamless developer experience, because down the road the customers will benefit from this, and we're all about maximizing shareholder value. Okay, so let's go back to our little box here. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to have a small package here, and this will contain most of my business logic. So this will just be labeled package. And we'll create another box that is the app. So this is what actually gets delivered to the customer on their screen. So we want to keep these separate. And this is just for best practices to show you all what goes into large scale iOS development. I didn't have to do this. I could have just created like a simple project with an app and throw everything in there. But we're all about best practices and just learning how to be better. So all of my business logic will live here. And my final display that's getting deployed and displayed to the user will live here. So we'll just say app. Okay. So yeah, when we move over to the code base, this will kind of help you visualize what's going on. And obviously within the package, you have like, if you zoom into it, the package has its own stuff going on. So let me label things properly here, help the visualization, because all of this is really important. I think when I first started out, I had all of this in my head and it wasn't really straightforward. So having these diagrams, I think, are really helpful. Yeah, if they're not helpful, if these are making you more confused, let me know, and I'll do my best to update these and get better, because we're all about getting better. All right, so package. Within my package, we're gonna see these little boxes here. One of these will be the input feature. And yeah, for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to create a small input feature module that will hold all of the logic for displaying characters remaining. And I know all of this seems a little overkill right now, but keep in mind that we're doing this for a reason. We want to make sure that our app is easy to change. It's easy to write tests for. And you'll see all the benefits of this when we take a look at the code base. Okay, and we just want to have an access point, and we'll call this app feature. So this will just be the app feature that is made public to this app. And this app will use the app feature module here to display everything. So this input feature is actually being set as a dependency to our app feature module here. And once again, I just wanted to introduce you guys to this diagram before we jump to the code base, because then that'll make things clearer. All right, let's move over to the code base. Okay, so we're in the code base. This view that I have up right now is the workspace. I've labeled the app portion the text input remaining characters app, and the package, I just labeled it remaining characters package. So as we looked at the diagram, let's start with the package. So within our package, we have the package configuration. This is a little in-depth. You don't have to worry about this right now, but essentially this is just setting up our package to recognize different modules that we'll be building. So as you see, it mentions the app feature that we talked about, and it has a dependency, which is the input feature. So the input feature is a standalone module that will be used within our app feature, and this app feature will be made public to our characters app, which is like the app view, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, so let's take a look at the input feature. I like to break down my modules into the different separations of concerns. You can kind of think of it as clean architecture, but just high level, you're going to have your views, you're going to have your view models, any services. I like to make folders for each of those to make it clear what's happening. And we're not just doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for obviously our future selves when we look back on this in a few weeks or months, sometimes even years, but also for other developers and other engineers on your team. Always be a good citizen. Okay, so let's start with the view model. I'm using the observation framework. I could have easily used Combine, RX Swift, even just binding through Foundation, but I figured observation would be the fastest to just demo this. And yeah, it's really simple. We start with an empty text string, and we establish some type of max characters. Right now it's set to 280, but for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to make it short and keep it at 10. We have this computed property here called remaining characters, which does a simple arithmetic of simple subtraction of looking at our max characters, which is a constant we set up here, and subtracting it from the current count of the text that it's inputted. This string that'll be returned will be one character remaining if that value is 1, if this difference is 1. If it's not, then we're always going to use characters and that count in the string that's returned. So simple view model. I know this is a very thorough explanation, but I just want you all to see, what's a typical setup architecture-wise of a small scale to large scale iOS project. All right, so now we're going to go to the views. As you know, the binding happens with the state property here and within our body. I just instantiate the view model at the top of the view file. Instantiate is just meaning I'm just creating it here. And this body is binded to this text property. So SwiftUI makes our lives a lot easier. We don't have to set up the binding ourselves. This is essentially saying every time our text changes, I want the view model to recognize that change. So we have a text field that SwiftUI defines. It knows that this state variable is binded to our view model. So whenever we type in, we're going to send signals to the view model that the view has changed, in the sense that the user has inputted a value. And conversely, our view is able to react to this computed property that we defined in the view model. So whenever this changes, this remaining character string, our view is binded to it. So it's basically saying, okay, whenever you move, I'm going to move. So once that remaining character changes, this text view changes. This text property within the view changes. Okay. Now let's go over to our app feature. And it's really simple. I imported the input feature that was in the other part of the package, and I just initialized the text input view. And SwiftUI is really nice in that you could use previews to just demo your work. So I can just type in here. Oh, and that's another edge case that I should probably take a look at, is to make sure that we don't allow user input once it hits 0. But for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to stop at 0 characters. So I'm typing in, and we see that when it hits 1 character, we make that change here in the UI, which is great. And if we type 1 more character in, it'll say 0 characters remaining. And yeah, there's more work to be done. I definitely don't want it to go to -1, but mistakes happen, and I could write tests for that and fix it. Before we go ahead to the app being built, I actually want to look at some unit tests. So within my package, I have a unit test suite, and essentially that just captures all of the different states that I wanted to test for. So we have the initial state. So when it's empty, we want it to say 280. When I'm updating it, I want the character limit to change as well. Previously, I had it set to 280, so I'm going to go ahead and reverse that change just so my unit test can work just for this demo. But ideally, I would maybe want to pass in this max characters such that I don't have to hard code anything like this. I want it to be sent to this model at initialization. Okay, but yeah, for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to put it back to 280. We're going to go to the feature test suite. I just had to change my scheme. And yeah, the other tests are max characters. So if I gave this view model 280 characters, I should see a remaining character string of 0. And same for the singular character remaining. If I sent 279, we should see a remaining characters of just 1. Let's go ahead and run this test. A few seconds. And there we go. Test succeeded. Pretty nice. And yeah, we could run this app, but it's no different than just showing you all the app view here. That's the beauty of SwiftUI. It's no different than just doing this this preview here. Let's see what's going on. Sometimes it just needs a refresh. Let's do this. Failed to build. Maybe let's check out my scheme. Yeah. And now we're in the right scheme. And there we go. We have the fully built out application, and we only touched files in the package. If we wanted to build out the app, I could change my scheme, run it on an iPhone 15 Pro, and I may need to pause my screen to show that this works. So let me pause it first. Hey team, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm struggling to get this this app working inside the workspace, so I'm gonna put that off for another video. But for now, we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish within the package alone. And yeah, in future videos, I'll show you how this all comes together, having a package, a project file, all in a workspace, such that everything is very modular and clean. But if you stuck with me, thank you. Yeah, leave any comments below. Would love some feedback. And yeah, stick around for the journey. So feel free to subscribe and like this video. Thanks. Love you. Okay, so as promised, we figured it out. Xcode didn't like this preview being here. It looks like there's some issue with rendering the preview, and that was one part of the problem. The other part was I was just missing this main keyword, and this basically distinguishes it as like the entry point of the app. So without this here, it was just constantly having build failures, but adding it there, got it. Adding that main keyword and removing this preview solved the issue. So taking a step back, we have this app that runs. The app file itself, like the project file, it only contains one file. It's just app. And that's just the entry point from the work that we did inside the package. So yeah, everything's in here with the app feature, input feature, which has the business logic and the views. The app view is just the public entry point. And just to reiterate, we can view our preview without running the app. This is all within the package. Everything's in here. We can do the full business logic testing within here. We also added some view model test. So yeah, just a few silly mistakes that, it happens every now and then. Even senior iOS engineers run into issues. So yeah, hope this was helpful. Yeah, stay tuned for more tips and tutorials. And yeah, just sharing my experience as an engineer. All right, take care.